I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There is, sir. We'd like to, with permission, to add item 1A tonight, sir.
We'll add that right after item number 1 and between 1 and 2.
Okay, I don't know if, do I need to make a motion to add item 1A?
Sure. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And item number 1A, it is the appointment of the Director of Emergency Services, and it reads Board of County Commissioners to appoint Mr. James R. Piles as Director of Emergency Services to authorize the County Administrator to execute the employment contract for a 1-year term. And that will follow item number 1.
Okay, sir.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the last public business meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving to our action agenda. Item number 1 is the Maryland Department of Disabilities MOU. We have Administrator Butler and Courtney Thomas Winterberg with DSS.
Commissioners, good evening. Item number 1 is a MOU with the Maryland Department of Disabilities, and that is to approve a pilot program that we are currently have before you. That is called a 2-Gen Promise Pilot, and I'm going to have Ms. Winterberg talk to you about what that is, but I want to say, first of all, that this is a collaboration between the State Department of Disabilities, Allegany County Government, and Allegany County's Department of Social Services. This is a grant that was actually brought to us and an opportunity that was brought to us by folks with the Maryland Department of Disabilities, and specifically the 2-Gen strategy, as Ms. Winterberg will describe here in a second, is something that will provide services both to parents and DSS individuals with disabilities. And so I think this will absolutely be a worthwhile project, a worthwhile pilot program, particularly as it relates to what Governor Hogan has done. Governor Hogan has literally put the 2-Gen initiative and the 2-Gen approach to human services on the map for Maryland. And so with that, I want to hand it over to Courtney Thomas Winterberg.
So the goal of the project pilot is to improve outcomes for children eligible for Social Security disability and their families by developing pathways to education and employment through a coordinated approach to parent and youth services together that'll focus on increased educational attainment, improved rates of employment to bring up wages and earnings, increased total household income, and reduction in long-term Social Security reliance. So as you know, Allegany County has a significant population of individuals who receive Social Security income. Many of them are eligible for employment without completely reducing their benefits from the state, but most people don't know of those opportunities. We see a lot of families that come through with children that are eligible for SSI that have to be redetermined for eligibility at the age of 18. Roughly 1/3 of those children, when they reach the age of 18, will not be redetermined for SSI, but they haven't been working towards an education or career goal path. Which leaves them at risk for being long-term dependent on public benefits. So what this project allows us to do is bring on essentially 2.5 staff that will work intensely with 10 families to be able to address their educational as well as socioeconomic needs by working with other agencies in the community to create career pathways in terms of work experience and paid internships. And at the end of the program, which will be September of 2019, hopefully we can show the results of this effort so we can sustain the program long term.
And Commissioners, again, this is the way that we're working collaboratively on this one is that because of the state's hiring requirements, so the individuals that are going to be brought on as that will work with Courtney, these 2.5 positions, will actually be through Allegheny County government because of the short-term duration of this program. And so, again, Courtney and I have spent some time with the Aspen Institute. They have been very good to Allegheny County in the past, and I think this will just further accentuate that we need to put these folks who are on SSI, those on that career pathway, so that they are not dependent on social programs.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
And the only other thing I would like to add in terms of the 2Gen piece is Brandon had mentioned Governor Hogan's 2Gen task force, and they came out with their final report, and hopefully everyone will have an opportunity to read that because it does feature heavily the work that's being done in Allegheny County. And I know all of you have been supportive of it. We were a NACO project 2 years ago, as well as one of the rural impact sites as a county. So we continue to look forward to working with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney.
Any further questions?
No, sir.
Total number of grant funds in this is $99,614.91. Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Maryland Department of Disabilities?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. All right. Item number 1A is the appointment of Director of Emergency Services. Mr. Butler.
Commissioners, I am honored to present to you for your consideration a 30-year resident of Allegheny County, Mr. James R. Piles, as the new Director of Emergency Services. He is a manager with 21 years of experience overseeing personnel, facilities, and budgets. He has served the people of Allegheny County and the people of the state of Maryland for 30 years as a law enforcement executive. He has been with the state police since 1988. He has served on the Board of Trustees of Allegheny College of Maryland since 2015. He is a sought-after public speaker traveling the state of Maryland and one of the very few people that truly understand the state's opioid crisis better than anyone. He is most recently has served as the Director of Safety and Security and Chief of Police for the Maryland Department of Health. And at this critical time, and because of the critical services that our emergency management professionals provide to this community day in and day out, we need a man like Jimmy Piles to fill the position for a contract of 1 year that is renewable upon the action of the parties. Mr. Piles has the experience, he has the ties to the community, and with the myriad of requirements that are coming down from the state, he is the right man with the connections that we need for this position. And so, therefore, Commissioners, I'm asking for your appointment of Mr. James Piles as Director of Emergency Services, and further request your permission to execute Mr. Piles' employment contract, again, for that 1 year initial term.
Well, it's obviously a very important position. I think we found a very good candidate who's going to do a good job, and it's certainly going to be a big task. And I look forward to having you on board, Jimmy, and working with Roger and all of our people at Emergency Management, because we certainly have a lot of work to do here in the next couple months.
Sir, that sounds like a motion to me.
So I will make the motion that we approve the contract for the appointment of Director of Emergency Services to James R. Piles. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Piles, please.
Commissioners, Mr. Butler, Mr. Beaman, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, good evening. Commissioners, Mr. Butler, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I'm finally home after 30 years. It's been a long journey. My wife Sharon is with me tonight as well, and she thanks you. She just got done doing the handstands knowing that I'm going to be home. Joining me also is my father, Raymond Piles. He has attended, him and my mom, every single promotional ceremony from the state police, from corporal to sergeant, to detective sergeant, to lieutenant, to captain to major, and he's with me this evening. And he's taken a walk down memory lane for 31 years. He left his residence in Short Gap and he drove down Kelly Road, and he worked for 31 years here at Kelly Springfield. So it's a welcome walk for my father. My father's often said life is about timing and opportunity. Timing is perfect for me. I've spent the last 30 years in public service, as a public servant with the state police, retiring at the rank of major with the state police, and the last 3 years serving as the Director of Safety and Security and the Chief of Police for the Maryland Department of Health. And when I talk about timing, I told the Department of Health, when I come on board, you have me for 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, February 3rd, last Sunday, was that 3 years. Opportunity. This is a tremendous opportunity for me. For 30 years, I've stood on the front line in the heroin and the opioid epidemic fight. I've stood on the front line with the men and women of law enforcement. Now I'm going to continue to stand on the front line with the men and women of emergency services in Allegheny County. Thousands of presentations I've given across this state. I open every single presentation up with, one life, one day, we're going to change Maryland. I will close my remarks this evening with, one life, one day, we're going to change Allegheny County. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Jimmy, can you come up here?
Quick photo.
Okay.
Brian, no picture for the radio?
Congratulations. Thank you.
Item number 2 is our Old Town Roads Garage site acquisition. Public Works Director, Mr. Adam Patterson.
Commissioners, good evening. I have some good news here. As for a period of time, County Roads, particularly our Old Town Garage, we've been looking for a new site to build a new facility for those guys. Very much in need. Was on the trail of one early last spring. Things didn't go so well. We have a new property owner though now of the same property, and he's interested in working with us to be able to subdivide the property for the benefit of building a new county roads facility. Location is right south of the salt dome that State Highway has, right along 51. There's great sight distance there. The property is approximately 11 acres. There is floodplain in the rear. I've met with Mr. DeHaven, talked with him, emailed, and he's, again, interested in working with us, so requesting that you guys approve, authorize the purchase of the property for $50,000, allow us to go through the subdivision process here at the county, and that the county prepare all the legal work for the purchase of the property. Any questions?
Great. And this is right below Old Town on the straightaway there where the State Road Salt Dome is.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks,
Adam,
Adam.
thank you very much, because 8 years ago when I took office, that was one of the things the county was really looking forward, trying to find, and when you got charged with it, you made it happen and quickly. Thank you.
Item number 3 is an authorizing resolution for fiscal year 2020 transit grant applications, Resolution 19-2. Mr. Roy Cool.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is something we run through every year when we have to submit our annual grant application to secure the funding for the transit agency. The resolution actually gives either the President of the County Commissioners or the County Administrator the right to file the application and sign the appropriate papers. They really already have that, but it's a requirement to add this copy of this resolution into the grant application. So.
Great. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roy.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to our consent agenda. Mr. Butler.
All right, Commissioners, again, good evening. Item number 4 is a community enhancement program expenditure of $34,000. Item number 5 is a community enhancement expenditure to the town of Barton for $15,000 for funding of partial construction of a new maintenance facility. Item number 6 is a FY 2019-2022 Cumberland Area Transportation Improvement Program. Item number 7 is a paving contract. Item number 8 is a spoil disposal agreement with Allegany Coal and Land. Item number 9 is the Bedford Road Sewer Rehabilitation Phase 6 of the Evetts Creek contract. Item number 10 is public notice for the public transportation grant application hearing. Item number 11 is the operation and maintenance agreement with the Mount Savage Special Taxing Area. Item number 12 is a Maryland Heritage Areas Authority Grant Program Agreement. Item number 13 is the Allegheny County Department of Social Services Board appointment for Brianna Willits. Item number 14 is the Allegheny Trail Alliance Board appointment for David Cotton. Item number 15 is the first amendment to the pilot agreement with the Cumberland Housing Preservation Partners, LP.
Any discussion?
Very good. That's quite a consent agenda this evening.
Certainly is.
We like to move them along.
That's right.
Absolutely. I'll make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Pinch hitting for our county attorney is our assistant county attorney, Mr. Lee Beeman.
I have nothing to add.
Tonight was his big night, too.
It was.
Okay. Mr. Butler.
Commissioners, I was remiss in saying, in not saying one thing. Since January, the Department of Emergency Services has been well served by the leadership of the acting director at the time, Mr. Roger Bennett. He and his staff have done a fantastic job of keeping all of these services that are provided to the citizens of Allegheny County going and moving in the right direction. And Commissioners, again, I was remiss in not including him earlier, and a job well done for Mr. Bennett.
Agreed.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Roger.
Commissioner Caparelli.
Just a final welcome to Jimmy. We all looking forward to working with you and moving forward.
Absolutely.
Welcome
Mr. Brody.
aboard.
Absolutely. My same sentiments. I don't believe there's a county in Maryland right now that's probably not jealous of us for our new director and assistant director, both guys. I mean, this is a fantastic team. We couldn't be more excited with moving forward. Danny, congratulations. We got our agreement. We can move forward with you. That's an exciting project. With that, Sheriff, anything to add? You're sitting back here awfully quiet tonight. I mean, not that I'm trying to throw you under the bus, but you actually work very closely with that organization, so we're interested.
It'll be good to work with Jim, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. But it sure don't want, Roger's been fantastic through all this, and if you have to really depend on someone to know the fire side and the EMS side, he probably knows more than anybody I know, so we couldn't be more excited.
Great. And Mr. Piles, it's a big job. We know you're up for it, and we look forward to working with you over the next few years. We began our budget discussions today. It's going to be another tight year. Hopefully there's some light at the end of the tunnel. We're getting some good news on our property tax side. We'll see what the details are. Sheriff, we're still committed to try to get you another 2 deputies, whether that comes through grant funding or through our general budget. We're going to try to make that happen because we've certainly heard loud and clear that we need more people in the street and more people helping in the jail and everywhere, because we're experiencing more crime than we used to, and that's certainly something you see across the country. So anything we can do to help, we're happy to do it. The other thing that we're looking at is an OP roads program. These are roads that people live on, but they're not county maintained, but they pay the exact same taxes as everyone else. And so we're going to see if we can bring some of those in the county system. Sometimes it's a cost share between us and the people that live there to bring those up to code. And lastly, the Board of Education, we're actually increasing our funding about $330,000 to the Board of Ed next year. And it's my hope that some of those will be spent for mental health counselors in all the high schools. And, we're seeing a big increase in mental health issues and suicides and and you don't want to say it, but serious violence. And when you see those things happen, it's usually nearly always a mental health issue too. So obviously that would be something that we could do, and I think it would be unique, and I think it would have a big impact locally on our community if the Board of Ed was able to use some of those funds for that. So with that, we do have one person signed up to speak tonight, Mr. Kenneth Wilmot, please.
I'm Kenneth Wilmot. I live at 513 Ford Avenue, Cumberland, Maryland. I own 11 pieces of property up on Ford Avenue. At the age of 82, I've seen it all and just heard it all. I'm here under the Freedom of Information Act to request that there be a total exposure of the incident with Mr. DeVore and his cause and action taken in this incident. The public has the right to know what's going on. Taxpayers, they pay his salary. And as a taxpayer, I don't feel that Mr. DeVore and his friend are immune to public exposure, nor are they immune to a criminal investigation if there is one connected. I've been the victim of Mr. DeVore. He accused me of poisoning 22 cats. To this day, there's no evidence whatsoever that there were 22 cats poisoned. No evidence whatsoever. I had several other incidents with Mr. DeVore. All you get from him is lip service. I don't care what you say. You need to expose. The public has a right to know what's going on within our city, our county, our state, and federal government, just like the governor down in Virginia. They got him on something he did 50-some years ago and holding him responsible. Mr. DeVore has to be held responsible for his actions and the cost and the disgrace or whatever he did. I think you need to, Mr. Shade, you need to expose this guy. If you're going to have an open government, then we need to have an open government. And everything I read in the newspaper from all you guys up there, that you were going to be open, that there'd be no secrets. But now's your time to back up what you said. If there's going to be any disclosure.
Mr. Wilmot, thank you very much for your comments. However, Mr. DeVore, if you do take a look at the Public Information Act and the Freedom of Information Act, I believe both are state that there are certain exceptions to that, including personnel matters. And so it is, with that in mind, we have to abide by the confidentiality as it relates to personnel matters, and we will do so.
Cover it all up.
What's that?
In other words, we're going to cover everything up.
Mr. Wilmot, there's no such thing as that. But at the end of the day, there are certain requirements of the Public Information Act that we have to abide by, and that is, and we are well within our rights.
Mr. Butler, I would add to that the county has a set out Public Information Act policy in which Public Information Act requests are required to be filed in writing. You correctly cited that there is an exception to that for confidential personnel matters. Mr. Wilmot, if you desire, you can certainly file a Public Information Act request, and that'll be responded to properly within the due course.
Well, if I can't get what we need here for the public, not just from me, I've talked to a lot of people, and they said, well, you're wasting your time when you go to the public meeting because they ain't going to do nothing. I said, well, I'm going anyway. And I think you guys need to sit down and put your heads together. All these political rules that you've made up to protect everybody within the county, city, state, and the United States, they don't justify keeping your secret from the public. All my dealings with Mr. DeVore were just like this. He provided only lip service.
Well-
And I'm glad he's gone.
Mr. Wilmot, I would add that Mr. DeVore served the people of Allegheny County, and as Commissioner Brody has mentioned time and again, this is not a forum to bash any employee, former or current, of Allegheny County. So thank you very much for your comments.
In other words, it's going to be held top secret. That's all we can assume. Hopefully none of you guys are involved.
All righty. With that, our next public business meeting will be Thursday, February 21st at 5 p.m. We'll see you then.
It's all I can do to say.